Yesterday on Keep the Bad Guys Away. Oh my god, I can't believe those damn bitches in Barrow, this damn fucking Marianne, this stupid saint, are sending me home because, my perfume was just, too over the damn top. And then all these damn, other stupid fucking hag bitches, this damn freaking stupid nurse practitioner and this PA, it's like they're all, out to get me. Like Knisely, they're, out to get me, because, I'm cute or whatever. So, I knew it. Hey, it's Suze, and welcome to tonight's episode of Keep the Bad Guys Away. Hey, I got thinking about this. I think I'm going to have to call the Marshal Service on this one. This one was pretty big. I did hit the ICE tip line today at work. Sometimes I can't always make a phone call. I'm not in a position where I feel like I can do that. Sometimes I've called the 1-866-DHS to ICE on some of the weird, crazy crap that I have, and other times I've called the marshals, but I usually call the ICE tip line because I always know that somebody's there 24 hours a day to answer the phone. But I did have to make a report on the ICE tip line online at ice.gov. But this one's getting pretty big. It's pretty over the top. I think I'm going to have to call Uncle Charles up there in Buffalo, New York. Now, Uncle Charles, that's my nickname for him. Uncle Charles, he's really not my uncle. He's the United States Marshal for the Western District of New York. I mean, oh my God, marshals! Charles Selena. He actually called me, on this whole kid situation. We're trying to still figure out this whole jacked up thing with the kids. But, so I don't know. He's the United States Marshal. He's got jurisdiction in 50 states and U.S. territories. Maybe he can help get these assholes away from here. I'm going to have to call Uncle Al down, 1 county, 3 counties over the hill down the road. I mean, oh my God, marshals, get these assholes away from me. This is totally over the top. I got spies everywhere. This guy today has the potential to be very, very dangerous, very, very connected into Marc Moore. And I don't know how the hell I'd make a police report on this weird shit. But anyway, so I get floated today going to work at the hospital. I'm a registered nurse. And I go in to work in the ICU and I get told I've been floated up to the CVICU, which is the cardiovascular intensive care unit. It's a specialty unit that some hospitals have for their open heart patients and patients that get heart valves and heart things in general. So I went up to the CVICU, everything, first sign right away. And we got to look for the early signs. Okay, there was no place for me to put my stuff. The cabinet where I could have put my stuff in my little nursing station had this big sign that said broke. I'm like, okay, warning, red flag. Okay, they're going to try to steal my property. They're going to try to steal my passport. They're going to try to steal some of my congressional letters. They're going to try to steal anything that they possibly can. So I had that happen down in Harlingen, Texas. This guy was working on a little plot where I knew he was trying to get my ID. Keep in mind, I'm a human trafficking victim, and that's one thing that these guys like to do is they like to take away documents in which person can identify themselves. I mean, usually they do it for illegal aliens, but they could do it for anybody. But that's highly suspicious. Take away my debit cards, credit cards. I mean, they could steal anything. And it wouldn't necessarily have to be them. All they have to do is pull in one of their friends and make it look like a visitor stole it. Somebody, whoever they pay off. But so I had to watch that. Sign number 1. Okay, now floating from the ICU up to the CVICU, at first I thought, okay, this will be great. I can get away from this damn chick, Miriam, or whatever the heck her name is. She works for True Staff, which is a company that I work for. Travel nurse company that contracts people up to the hospital that I'm at here in California. And so Miriam, she apparently has friends within the FBI up there in Washington, D.C. They all hang out together, agents investigate or something like that. So I picked up on her right away. I mean, her and I actually get along, but I think the only reason that we get along or that she's trying to get along with me is so she can find out information. So she was working down the ICU today, so at first I thought I was safe going to CVICU, and then a guy named James comes along. Now, this guy just reeks of somebody that could be hella dangerous to me. Same concept of Marc Moore, looking like a nice guy, looking like your nice white-collar criminal. To give you a comparison, there's actually a guy in the US Marshal's 15 most wanted list. A guy named, I think it's William Ayers, is retired or whatever, a former police officer. He's got that white-collar criminal look. So this is kind of similar. This guy actually had dark hair, he's about 40s or so, whatever, but his name was James, nurse in the CVICU. So he approaches me, and he's giving me all this crap. Now, basically what it boils down to is that I think at this point he was trying to just scare me and let me know that I was being watched. So this guy follows the same pattern as Marc Moore. Marc Moore, remember, Marc Moore, very dangerous federal government employee, believed to work for the Central Intelligence Agency connected in the CIA, FBI, CIA, Al-Qaeda task forces. Keep in mind, I'm a victim of terrorism, so that's what these these task forces do. They deal with terrorism or basically just concealing evidence on terrorism. It seems to be that all the witnesses are missing. But anyway, okay, so this guy, James, he approaches me and tells me he's from Florida. He tells me that he is retired from NASA, so he's retired from the government. He says that he was like an engineer for NASA, and nursing is a second career. And then he was talking about how, being a travel nurse, wasn't that great and all that stuff, and you can take a month off between contracts. And then he said he could go to Costa Rica, between contracts. And then he talked about combining his engineering and nursing experience and working for a corporation such as Anheuser-Busch. Okay, so now here, let me just read through the bullshit for you. And this guy, this James, he also claimed to have dual citizenship, being in Europe and the United States. So keep in mind the CIA works a lot overseas. So anyway, Marc Moore claims to have dual citizenship, same pattern. Germany, being born in Germany, and then dual citizenship in the United States. Marc Moore claimed to have an interest in engineering, talked about going to engineering school, and punished me and my son because apparently all of the stuff that, I had to worry about with my son was apparently keeping, with the terrorists coming after him and all the family court garbage and all that was apparently keeping him away from getting his engineering degree, whether that would be in Las Vegas, some other city, or in Arizona. He talked a lot about going to school in Arizona. So he even claimed to work for an engineering firm in Henderson. And did some work for the city of Las Vegas and some kind of like, I don't know, the water company or something like that. This is the company in Henderson, Nevada. Did some kind of contracting with the city of Las Vegas. So civil engineering was a big thing that Marc Moore was into. So now let me just connect some dots here. Many years ago, when I perceived Marc Moore to be a good guy, good out of all the bad guys, I actually brought up working for the agency, meaning the CIA. It's like, I said, I mean, I should just work for the same agency. Now, let me tell you, the only reason that I really wanted to work for the CIA is I was always like looking for options. Okay, so the CIA actually has a position called an occupational health nurse. And the only reason I didn't even really want that job. I was like, who the hell would want to be an occupational health nurse? But I wanted a CIA identity because, I thought, God, dude, I could work for the CIA, and then I could get a CIA identity, and then the terrorists would never find us, and the FBI couldn't use us as bait and all that stuff. So that was the only reason I had an interest in that. And when I did this legal response on a case and was talking about my life story in Clark County, Nevada, I actually put a printout that I got from the CIA's website about this occupational health nurse position. But so just to kind of, bring some reality into this insanity. So Anheuser-Busch, it's like, what would a nurse do at Anheuser-Busch? Would be an occupational health nurse. Okay, so I don't know if this guy's just trying to tell me he's the CIA. Is he trying to tell me he's like, is he friends with Marc Moore? I mean, but why would he be disclosing all of that kind of information that would be, following in a pattern with Marc Moore to me in a synopsis? And so, I mean, I would think that the motive there was for him to try to scare me. Well, guess what? I'm not scared. So if I see Marc Moore again, I'm just going to have to fucking goddamn take him out myself. Jolt him with this whole damn thing, pepper spray, whatever the hell I got to do. I see that freaking Marc Moore again, he comes after me, he's going to get it. So, I think the motive was to scare me. Now, of course, it's like, I just gave him one of my business cards or whatever, and then he was insistent on having an email address. So I gave him an email address in which I know that True Staff already sent emails to, so I give him that one. Just so I can keep the trails going, make it a little bit easier. So if you keep all the crime centered in one direction, it's easier to follow the pattern on this. Now, the interesting other part about this is that apparently Chris, my recruiter from True Staff. Now, I got a strange phone call from True Staff today. Apparently, I have a new recruiter for True Staff. Chris is taking a extended leave of absence or something, or is on an extended leave of absence, and there's nobody knows when Chris is going to return. So apparently I have a new recruiter in with this as well, but I don't know what to think. I really don't know what to think about that. But the pattern is with this guy, James is following the pattern with Marc Moore. So this would be somebody who would be very, very dangerous to me, and somebody that could blend in which is what these guys do, blend in very, very well. But it's definitely something that I was staying away from. So on top of that, then what happened next is that a wound care nurse, who's actually employed by TrueStep as well, a wound care nurse came up and was trying to force me to change my charting. And that happened before in Richmond, Texas. I did an assessment on my patient. I charted what I saw. She wanted me to write down something else. I'm not going to do it. I actually ran that whole thing by one of the staff nurses. Have you ever had this wound care nurse, approach you and want you or anyone else to change your charting? And he said no, and he thought that was kind of a big, kind of red flag, something's not right, ding, 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 that kind of thing. So that's another hit. But keep in mind, these are all travel nurses. And so that's what they're doing. They're hitting the travel companies, hitting the travel nurses. Now, Marc Moore in the past had manipulated one of my employers, Global Staffing. Global Staffing is owned by a cardiologist in town named Ram Singh. So whether or not he manipulated Dr. Ram Singh, a well-established cardiologist, or if he just manipulated Nicholas, who was running the operation, the guy who claims to have a French descent, I'm not really sure. But there is a pattern of Marc Moore manipulating travel companies. Marc Moore had even mentioned one time that he actually went to Global Staffing and sat down and talked with Nicholas. This is when he was human trafficking my son and I. So very, very dangerous to me. But I wish the marshals would get rid of these guys. Only because they are employed by the federal government, and or what appears to be working in some kind of capacity with them. That's a little bit, it's not like it can't be proved to the police, but it's just a little bit more difficult because the marshals can just, do stuff in their greatness as the US Marshal a lot easier pulling stuff on a federal level than a police department. And I think that's probably even most evident by when the Rochester, New York Police Department called me on my missing cousins. They had me call the marshals. Because I think they knew there were some bad feds, bad FBI agents, task forces, CIA stuff, and so forth, that might need the help of the marshals. So, but boy, dude, I wish the marshals could do something with these guys, because like I said, they're just never going to stop. Also, today I got an email from an email that talked about. Now, I don't know if this was actually sent to everybody or if it was just specifically sent to me. In my situation, it could just be sent to me because of the video I made last night about not wearing perfume and the fucking bitches in Barrow, Alaska, and all these hags and everything. But this email contained a policy of the hospital talking about personal hygiene and how you should dress, and not too much jewelry, and perfume can be offensive, and talked about artificial nails. That was the first thing I damn did. I was so pissed. I came home and I put on my artificial nails and I put on a lot of perfume. But, we had to read this policy and then we had to electronically sign it. So I would anticipate that there being some kind of damn fucking operation at this hospital in which they would attempt to send me home or do something to me, and trying to say I'm in violation of a policy. Now, of course, I don't even wear the nails to the hospital. I had to sit on this morning and I ripped them off before I left, because I just know that that people are getting paid off there at the hospital that I'm working at, and so I'm just trying not to give them any outlet. And anything that happens, even the slightest little thing, gets reported to ICE. And if you know anything about ICE or Homeland Security Investigations, they look into everything. So they'll look into everybody that was on that nursing unit working today and their whole life story. So I don't know. I'm just kind of guess on that, but they look into everything. So, but I will not hesitate to make this, reporting to a federal agency into Homeland Security Investigations. Like I said, I have agents, and they too would be able to figure out if, this stuff is connected into Marc Moore and the FBI and who's sending this person out and that person and so forth. But that is the craziest of my situation. So if they're trying to scare me, I just gotta tell you, I'm not scared. I know how you work. I know how you operate. I know everything that you've done in the past, and you're not going to get away with it. So, and you freaking physically come after me, fucking get it. And you keep trying to affect my job, you're going to get it too. So, in one way or the other, in more ways than not. And here's the trouble with these situations, because there's such a pattern with this. I have considered sometimes, going to, but the trouble is I wouldn't know how to explain it. I've considered sometimes going to management and saying, hey, look, you know what, I'm feeling uncomfortable at work. I don't know, or something. But it's so very hard. I just think to myself, like the president and the chief nursing officer of the hospital would be completely disgusted if their own employees were working in some kind of conspiracy, because remember, the hospital is in the business to, we're in the business to save lives of patients. We're not in the business, we're not in the business to do all kinds of investigations. So the very fact that there is a pattern of these things going on, I think that hospital executive management would actually be very, very upset. Not necessarily a nurse manager, but the big chiefs. I mean, that would be my perception. But how do you explain this to somebody? I'm not exactly quite sure. But anyway, that's tonight's episode of Keep the Bad Guys Away. And I'm sure they'll pull more this weekend. I'll see you next time.